Welcome. Let us align and focus with purity of motive, inspired by a loving heart. Should you be viewing this recording or listening at another time, be certain to align with this group gathered to build a substantial field of group support for your endeavors in dissipating glamour and dispelling illusion. Before we begin, let us align as soul and as a group, and see our group approaching Master Dwalkul's study. And we say the soul mantra: I am the soul. I am light divine. I am love. I am will. I am fixed design. My will is now to lift the lower self into the light divine. Such is my will. Let us align as soul with all those studying and meditating with Master Dwalkul. Breathe in effortlessly and easily. See our group moving through the field of lotus blossoms, lining our path towards Master Dwalkul's study. We pause at the ivory door, which opens as the Master greets us and invites us in for our contemplative approach to advancing as a discipleship group in the energies of this zodiacal sign. As we continue our study of the dissipation of glamour and dispelling of illusion as individuals supported by this group, we stand around Master Dwalkul and we see 3 windows filled with light. We stand in silence as he turns and faces the east. Together we enter into this point of light. We enter into a beam of directed, focused light, revealing a greater light and illumining the way to the center of the light, directing our way. We each affirm, I am one with my group brothers and sisters, and all that I have is theirs. May the love of the one soul pour forth to all. May the energy of the one soul lift and aid all. May the thoughts which the soul creates reach and encourage all. May the energy of the divine self be spread abroad in our hearts, through our groups, and throughout the world. We affirm our group purpose. Our aim is to embody spiritual discernment, practice positive harmlessness, and eventually achieve a state of divine indifference. As we dispel illusion dissipate glamours, devitalize Maya in all our relationships.
Master DK tells us, and we'll review this again, to the man, therefore, who undertakes wholeheartedly the process of occult meditation, I would say with all conciseness, know thyself. Proceed slowly and with caution. Study effects. He says those who are in preparation for initiation must learn to work consciously with glamour. They must work effectively with the presented truth, ignoring any pain or suffering or mental questioning, which is incident to personality rebellion and limitation. They must cultivate that divine indifference to personal considerations, which is the outstanding hallmark of the trained initiate. It is not uncommon, and actually maybe more common than not, that those endeavoring to work consciously with glamour experience a great sensitivity to glamour. So if this occurs, one must pause, refocus, and anchor at the point that is useful for you in your own development, and attend to the immediate demands of your situation, and then take up the work in earnest again. For it will not help if you persist when there are these other demands from your soul that must be met. So what is required of the individual? As we learned before, practiced meditation, deep reflection upon the nature of thought and its uses, and developed awareness of the light within. And these three stages being established as in our related activities, in our daily and group work, habits that we have established, and eventually our automatic reactions. And when our intention is fixed and the ability to focus has become an almost instinctual reaction, then sound and effective work can be done. And to this work must be added persistence and patience. Therefore, we every Monday will meet to practice the technique of light in order to establish the habit and the persistence that we need and the patience that we need in order to do this work. Master DK instructs us to remember to exercise the deepest watchfulness in the endeavor to work thus on the astral plane. Consider how you are being affected in doing this work. Are you establishing what Master DK tells us to do in Letters on Occult Meditation? Are you establishing that place? Are you establishing the circle of protection so that you are not being disturbed in your activities by aspects of the astral plane in which we all live and work and have our being? Are you holding simultaneously the attitude of the observer on the high plane of the soul? And that is always holding a detached and liberated attitude. We are to work in one of the most difficult spheres of activity, perhaps the most difficult to which a disciple can be called, and hence the advisability of working there in group formation. Thank you for participating and supporting our group and working together. He says, I cannot emphasize too strongly that you are to work as a group and not as individuals. And he does remind us always to meet with him at the time of the full moon. Always watch with care for the undue stimulation of your astral or emotional nature with consequent and subsequent glamour. So all of us as human beings are in situations with family, friends, community, our nations, where there can be this undue stimulation of the astral emotional nature. Be with care so that it doesn't have undue stimulation. And exercise the deepest watchfulness in this endeavor, holding simultaneously the attitude of the observer on the high plane of the soul. This work enables us to make great advances in becoming mentally polarized and to move out of the state of astral polarization. Martine, will you take up on the next slide, please?
Always establish a connection with soul and with the soul observer, and then link with the group supporting you in this process. It is essential, holding the mind steady in the light. And remember Master DK's words, there are many and different kinds of glamour, and disciples are frequently surprised when they learn what is regarded as glamour by the masters. As we have reviewed in previous sessions, the general categories of glamour. The glamour of destiny. This is a glamour which indicates to the one whom it controls that he has important work to do, and then he must speak and work as destined. This feeds a pride which has no foundation in fact. 2. The glamour of aspiration. Those thus conditioned are completely satisfied and preoccupied with their aspiration towards the light, and rest back upon the fact that they are aspirants. Such people need to move onward, on to the path of discipleship, and cease their preoccupation and satisfaction with their spiritual ambitions and goals. 3. The glamour of self-assurance, or of what might be called the astral principles of the disciple. This is the belief, in plain language, that the disciple regards that his point of view is entirely right. This again feeds pride and tends to make the disciple believe himself to be an authority and infallible. It is the background of the theologian. 4. The glamour of duty. This leads to another emphasis of the sense of responsibility, producing lost motion and the emphasis of the non-essential. 5. The glamour of environing conditions, leading frequently to a sense of frustration or of futility or of importance. 6. The glamour of the mind and of its efficiency and its capacity to deal with any or every problem. This leads inevitably to isolation and loneliness. 7. The glamour of devotion, leading to an undue stimulation of the astral body. A man or woman thus glamoured sees only one idea, one person, one authority, and one aspect of truth. It feeds fanaticism, and spiritual pride. 8. The glamour of desire, which reflects action upon the physical body. This leads to a constant condition of fighting and of turmoil. It negates all peace and fruitful work and must someday be brought to an end. 9. The glamour of personal ambition. 9 glamours. Keep this list at hand, for it may prove to be more useful to you in identifying your individual glamours than the lists we will review today by Ray-Tai.
I think that it is important to pause here and just consider where we as a group are in relation to moving along the path. When DK gave the lists according to Ray type in the book Glamour, a World Problem, he was working with a specific seed group that he had formed. 2 of those members had considerable difficulty with glamour. As I look at this list, I believe he gave us this list as the 9 major general categories for humanity as a whole. And that in working with those who are venturing along the path, integrating personality, integrating into becoming mentally polarized, it's more common to see glamours that arise out of one of these 9 categories than it is to identify specific Ray glamours, particularly in working in group formation. So I'd like for us to keep reviewing this list as we begin to consider group glamour and consider how far we have come along the way. DK says, I would suggest that no aspirant attempt to tackle the problem of glamour as a whole or seek to dissipate all the glamours to which he is susceptible. He is dealing with a very ancient evil and with firmly established habits of glamour. They are closely connected with aspects of his daily living, with his sex life, or with his ambitions, with his relations to other people, with his pet ideas and ideals, his dreams and visions. A note from my own experience: one cannot tell another person what their glamour is. What you are noticing, very likely until you're highly advanced, is what you might see as a glamour you might be susceptible to, or that you may react to from your own experience, based on how you were raised, the nation you live in, and that these are a very ancient evil. It has been part of the human existence since Atlantean times. So they're very entrenched habits. It's important as we move to mental polarization to lose the criticism, self-criticism, and criticism of others. Criticism being a glamour, judgment of oneself, judgment of others in a negative way. He goes on to say he should choose the glamour that is most apparent and the most hindering at any given time, and there is always one. So you will find that there will be cycles where one glamour will pop up, and then you may, in another point in time, see another glamour that needs to be dissipated. And for its dissipation, he should work conscientiously if he would lay the foundations for effective service in the dissipation of world glamour. And that is our goal with this group throughout this year, to move to the point where we can begin to look at group glamour and those who are willing to continue to eventually take on world glamour. Another note I'd like to make, I don't know where it is in DK's writings, but essentially this ancient evil creates this whole glamorous astral field that has two foundational glamours that are world glamours, the glamour of fear and the glamour of separativeness. So you can usually trace any glamour back to one of those two major obstacles. So let's pause to consider. How are you doing? Are you doing this weekly? Are you considering glamours daily? Are you finding that glamour is more apparent to you in your daily life? Given the tumult in the world and the demands by those so many esoteric groups for your time and your service, how much is enough? Is this an added layer that you cannot spend much time with at this time? Are you still drawn to dissipate glamour? Each one of us needs to assess our readiness to continue, because this is not a work, as DK says, this is very difficult work. So assess yourself, decide on the priorities for your soul advancement and how much is enough for you and how much is enough for you to give to this group service of supporting those, because that is another level of demand. Take some time with these questions. Ponder on them. Think about what you are doing already in service. Consider how glamour is currently affecting your life. Are you at a point in your own development? Are you at a point of integration of your personality and the beginning stages of soul fusion to look to mental polarization as a goal and be able to turn and in group formation support the many who are struggling with glamour in their lives? Are you ready to take on this difficult work to assist our companions on the way? Martine, would you carry us forward?
Dissipating individual glamour, given by the Tibetan Master in Glamour, a world problem. Glamours by ray type. Sound the protective formula, making the sign of the cross of divinity, the long arm vertical cross, touching the forehead. As a soul, I work in light, the center of the chest, and darkness cannot touch me. The left eye. I take my stand within the light. I work the right eye, and from that point, I never move.
consider the invocation consciously. The vertical line of the cross, the horizontal line of the cross. Invoking soul light that this ancient evil cannot touch you, cannot touch us. Taking the stand within the light, the left eye, manas, we work with mind, to the right eye, buddhi, the intuitional level that we achieve, that point. We never move from that point where the soul lives on the Buddhic plane. Always use this protective formula with the highest level of consciousness that you can achieve. In preparing, we use the act of the creative imagination, endeavoring to see and hear the soul. See and hear the soul, the source of light and power in the three worlds. Breathing out the Om inaudibly into the mind of the attentive, waiting personality. There, the light and power of the soul is retained and held by the positive personality. Soul personality integration is occurring. This occurs on the level of the mind, with the soul infusing the mind. This retained light and power is combined with the dual light of the personality, generating an intense light, which can be visualized as a searchlight of great brilliance and strength. It must be seen as a sphere of vivid, brilliant light, but not yet radiating out or projecting outwards. The light of the soul is seen on its own plane. The light of the soul is seen radiating onto the mental plane. The light of the personality and the light of the concrete mind, the brain, unite, and the soul radiates in unison with these two lesser lights. Then the light of the soul, the three united lights, radiate together as soul light onto the astral plane. Not your astral body, not anyone's astral body, onto the astral plane. Now ask yourself these questions. Have I, through this practice, through my practice, accomplished that which is to be deemed satisfactory, as DK puts it, in using this act of visualization? With practice, am I becoming more assured that I can easily and readily achieve the altitude of the observer, not just the attitude, and acting as if this is the altitude of the observer? For that is what we must sustain as what Patanjali calls the mind held steady in the light on the mental plane. It is that merging and blending of the two lesser lights, mind and brain, with soul light. You might ask yourself, how do I know that I've achieved the needed concentration, realization, and relationship? So from that high point of soul focus and using the triple light, let us consider the glamours Master DK gives, grouped according to ray type. Yvonne, would you read the list for the first ray?
Ray 1, the glamour of physical strength. The glamour of personal magnetism. The glamour of self-centeredness and personal potency. The glamour of the one at the center. The glamour of selfish personal ambition. The glamour of rulership, of dictatorship, and of wide control. The glamour of the Messiah complex in the field of politics. The glamour of selfish destiny, of the divine right of kings, personally exacted. The glamour of destruction. The glamour of isolation, of aloneness, of aloofness. The glamour of superimposed will upon others and upon groups.
Now, if you want more on these, according to Michael Robbins, the Dissipation of Glamour Initiative number 122 covered these glamours, and I have the link to the YouTube channel posted later on the last list of Ray 7. But let us just consider why we need to stand at that altitude of the observer. And the Ray 1 glamours are probably the best example of where we might pick, say, a political group or a leader in the world or someone, and assign one of these glamours to them. And this is not what we are to do in relation to identifying individual glamours. We are to identify our own glamours. So if you find something within this list that from that altitude of the observer, you might be demonstrating as an individual, note it. But dismiss the others. For as an individual, that potency is not to be projected onto another astral body, which you are doing if you are assigning it to another person. So this is a key learning in focusing on individual glamours. We do not assign glamours to others when we're working through this process. We're using the highest point, the altitude of the observer from the mind, the soul infused mind. And why? Because usually if you assign a glamour, it is going to create or touch a glamour that you have. And this is happening worldwide now in the political arenas and fueling glamour on a worldwide basis. So just pause, stop. Use that highest point. You may say to yourself, oh, well, I see one here that I may, maybe that's a glamour for me. And it's first ray, and I don't have first ray in my makeup. Well, as Michael Robbins says, we all have all the rays in our makeup. So it's quite possible that in developing our personality will, there is a ray 1 aspect that is being demonstrated. Only you can know this. Only you can assess from that high point of the observer if it is a glamour and if it is really affecting your life. Martine, would you read the second ray glamours?
Ray 2. The glamour of the love of being loved. The glamour of popularity. The glamour of personal wisdom. The glamour of selfish responsibility. The glamour of too complete an understanding which negates right action. The glamour of self-pity, the basic glamour of this ray. The glamour of the Messiah complex in the world of religion and world need. The glamour of fear based on undue sensitivity. The glamour of self-sacrifice. The glamour of selfish unselfishness. The glamour of self-satisfaction. The glamour of selfish service.
Because our planetary logos has a soul ray of ray 2, and our solar logos is ruled by the ray 2 love wisdom on a personality level, it's likely that most human beings will experience individually one of these glamours at some point in their evolution. Most of us can identify at some point in our evolution, some point in our life, where we have been affected by the glamour of self-pity or the glamour of fear, based on this great sensitivity that we develop as we are working along the path of evolution and then the path of discipleship. When does self-sacrifice become a glamour? How can we recognize selfish unselfishness in ourselves? It's very likely that those that we are working with and those in our groups will be working or need to work individually on one of these glamours of the second ray. And remember, as DK says, you do not have to work on and eradicate, dissipate all your glamours. Select the one that is the greatest hindrance at this time. If you look at the series, the doggy series, there were several sessions spent on this section, on Ray 2.
Is that better?
Yes.
Ray number 3, the glamour of being busy. The glamour of cooperation with the plan in an individual and not a group way. The glamour of active scheming. The glamour of creative work without true motive. The glamour of good intentions, which are basically selfish. The glamour of the spider at the center. The glamour of God in the machine. The glamour of devious and continuous manipulation. The glamour of self-importance from the standpoint of knowing, of efficiency.
The personality ray of our planetary logos is the third ray. This is another list that most everyone can find some glamour. But is it a glamour that is creating a great hindrance to your progress? Yvonne, would you read this Ray 4 for us?
Ray 4, the glamour of harmony, aiming at personal comfort and satisfaction. The glamour of war. The glamour of conflict, with the objective of imposing righteousness and peace. The glamour of vague artistic perception. The glamour of psychic perception instead of intuition. The glamour of musical perception. the glamour of the pairs of opposites in the higher sense.
Ray 4, the ray of humanity. The glamour of war, the glamour of conflict with the objective of imposing righteousness and peace. Move to the altitude of the observer, soul. Soul infusing Buddhic understanding into the dual light of the brain and mind. Standing steady in that light. Always stand at the midway point, the way that reaches out in two directions. Words from the mantra that were given by the Tibetan. Martine.
Ray 5. The glamour of materiality or overemphasis of form. The glamour of the intellect. The glamour of knowledge and of definition. The glamour of assurance based on a narrow point of view. The glamour of the form which hides reality. The glamour of organization. The glamour of the outer which hides the inner.
Ray 5, governing the fifth root race and the fifth sub-race of which we are part. The power of the fifth ray mind. Though DK does tell us that the fifth ray people are less likely to suffer from glamour. Cindy, would you like to read this for us, please?
Yes. The glamour of devotion, the glamour of adherence to forms in persons, the glamour of idealism, the glamour of loyalties, of creeds, the glamour of emotional response, the glamour of sentimentality, the glamour of interference, the glamour of the lower pair opposites, the glamour of world saviors and teachers, the glamour of the narrow vision, the glamour of fanaticism.
The dominant ray in many countries, the dominant ray in terms of the astral bodies of humanity at this time. Sixth ray people have difficulty identifying that they're controlled by a glamour. If you have a strong sixth ray, you are, as DK says, capable of being a great worker in the field of the dissipation of glamour. So from that high point, the triple light, look and see, is there a glamour that is a great hindrance for you at this time? And in group work, we must always remember that our sixth ray brothers and sisters are often not aware of their glamours. No judgment, no criticism, but it is something that we will discuss in greater depth when we begin to look at group glamours. And last but not least, the seventh ray, the glamour of magical work, the glamour of the relation of the opposites, the glamour of the subterranean powers, the glamour of that which brings together, the glamour of the physical body, the glamour of the mysterious and the secret, the glamour of sex magic, the glamour of the emerging manifested forces. As we enter into the Aquarian age, and certainly in this period of transition that we've been going through in the growth of both sports celebrity and entertainment celebrity globally, we're beginning to see these glamours appear in our communities and as driving forces. Those with a seventh ray personality in integrating body, emotions, and mind into the personality integration process. Guard against Ray 7 glamours. So DK says, I've here enumerated many glamours, but their names are legion, and I have by no means covered the possibilities or the field of glamour. I encourage you to review the lists and go back to the general list. In my experience, as we are working along this path to personality integration and to soul fusion, glamours tend to blend and mix. And I encourage you to come up with an appropriate name for the glamour that you find hindering you at this point. It may not be as simple as one of these listed. It may be a combination. If you think about the integration of a sixth ray astral body, a seventh ray physical body, and a fifth ray mind in the integration process, are there glamours that seem to attach to each other and create what is your individual glamour that is a hindrance at this time? Something to ponder. Yvonne, would you read this, please?
You can see, consequently, that what I am outlining is relatively new. The faint impression of the coming technique, as far as the individual is concerned, has been registered. Men and women everywhere are attempting to rid themselves of glamour by the power of clear thinking, stern discipline, and common sense, and by a recording consciously of their relation to the whole, which prompts them to eliminate out of their lives all that could hinder others or increase world deception through glamour. To this will be added, perhaps as an aspect of the New World religion now on its way towards externalizing, the realization that groups can successfully clear away the glamours which darken humanity's way to its goal through the power of combined and projected thought.
So that is our goal, to develop these skills, to be able to utilize them at that high level of the observer, and to begin to work as a group to eliminate the glamours which are darkening humanity's way. Cindy, would you sound this for us, please?
The souls of all are one, and we are one with them. We seek to love, not hate. We seek to serve and not exact due service. We seek to heal, not hurt. Let pain bring due reward of light and love. Let the soul control the outer form and life in all the events, and bring to light the love that underlies the happenings of the time. Let vision come and insight. Future stand revealed. Let inner union demonstrate and outer cleavage be gone. Let love prevail. Let all people love.
Let us close with the mantra of light. Together and in vocal unison, we say, as a group, radiance we are and power. We stand forever with our hands stretched out, linking the heavens and the earth, the inner world of meaning and the subtle world of glamour. We reach into the light and bring it down to meet the need. We reach into the silent place and bring from thence the gift of understanding. Thus, with the light, we work and turn the darkness into day. Sound a silent Om from the head center. Withdraw the consciousness back to the mind. Make a personal pledge to commit to the work and service that is right for the moment you find yourself currently along the path of evolution and the path of discipleship. We'll continue our study focusing on the act of will on Saturday, April 20th. Time to be around this time or within about a couple of hours, depending on other activities that will be broadcast that day. And join the weekly practice of the technique of light each Monday, or view the recording and assess where you are and what is right in terms of your path, your progress, the way that is being lighted by the soul for you.